welcome to today's video where I want to share with you a personal journey that turned a simple space into something extraordinary. If you're over 60 living in a tiny home or even just considering a more minimalist way of life, this story is for you. In this video, I'll be talking about how I transformed my small home into a cozy, comforting sanctuary and how you can do the same, even if you're starting from scratch, have little space, or feel overwhelmed by the process. We often think that as we get older, we have to give up on our dreams of creating the perfect living space. After decades of working hard, raising families, and managing responsibilities, it can feel like the home you have doesn't reflect who you are anymore. Maybe it feels cluttered, outdated, or just plain uninspiring. Perhaps like me, you've spent years thinking about the changes you'd like to make but never had the time or energy to do so. Or maybe you're simply tired of living in a space that no longer brings you joy. If you've been feeling this way, I want to tell you something important. It's never too late to transform your environment. Your home doesn't have to be large to feel fulfilling. In fact, creating a cozy and calming space doesn't require much at all. It requires a shift in mindset and a willingness to embrace simplicity and comfort. I'm here to show you that even a tiny house with a bit of love, creativity, and intention can become a sanctuary that nurtures your soul and brings you peace. When I turned 50, I made the decision to downsize. The thought of living in a smaller space was both daunting and exciting, but over time I realized that the size of my home wasn't as important as how I felt when I was inside it. It's not about how many square feet you have, but how you use the space you do have. After making the decision to move into a tiny house, I realized that I had a perfect opportunity to craft a space that was all my own, one that was cozy, comforting, and perfectly suited to my needs. Let's face it, getting older often means simplifying our lives. It's not just about the physical space, but about creating a peaceful and intentional environment that fosters happiness and tranquility. And I know it can be hard. At times, life can feel chaotic, and managing a larger home can feel like too much. But it doesn't have to be this way. This journey of turning my tiny house into a sanctuary has brought me so much joy, and I hope by the end of this video, you'll feel inspired to take your own steps toward creating the perfect home for yourself, no matter how big or small. I want to take you step by step through my process of transforming my tiny house, showing you not just the physical changes I made, but also how it shifted my mindset and my overall sense of well-being. The power of a tiny space. As we grow older, we often seek comfort and peace, and that doesn't always have to come in the form of a large, sprawling house. In fact, one of the best decisions I made was to downsize and embrace a simpler lifestyle. It wasn't about getting rid of everything I owned, but rather about creating a space where I could truly relax and enjoy the present moment without the burden of excess. When I first moved into my tiny house, it felt a bit empty, but what I realized quickly was that the emptiness wasn't something to fear, it was an opportunity. A small space can be transformed into a place of comfort and peace by focusing on the essentials, things that matter, things that bring you joy, and things that make you feel grounded. In a tiny home, every inch of space is precious. And as I began the process of transformation, I learned to focus on quality over quantity. I stopped holding on to things that didn't serve me anymore, old furniture knickknacks, and items I had accumulated out of habit. Instead, I focused on what truly made me feel at home. Every piece of furniture, every decoration, every color scheme was chosen with intention and purpose. I surrounded myself with things that brought me joy and peace, whether it was a comfortable chair, a cozy throw blanket, or a piece of art that inspired me. By embracing a minimalist mindset, I began to see the beauty in simplicity. My home was no longer weighed down by clutter or the burden of too many things, and with that, I felt a sense of freedom I hadn't experienced in years. I didn't need a large space to feel fulfilled. I simply needed to create a space that reflected who I was and what I valued. The first step, embracing simplicity. The first step in turning my tiny house into a sanctuary was simplifying my life. The idea of simplicity might seem intimidating at first, but in reality it's liberating. I started by taking a hard look at my belongings and asking myself, do I really need this? Does this item bring me joy or peace? If the answer was no, it had to go. Simplifying my space wasn't just about decluttering, it was about creating a space that encouraged mindfulness and intentional living. By reducing the excess, I was able to focus on what truly mattered. I made sure to keep only the things that brought warmth, comfort, and meaning into my life. This process wasn't about throwing everything away, but about being intentional with what I chose to keep. The transformation of my space wasn't instant. It took time. But over time, I started to notice a change. The more I simplified, the more at ease I felt. There was no longer a constant need to clean, organize, or manage a large space. Instead, I could focus on spending my time in ways that made me feel more grounded, whether it was enjoying a good book, sitting in my favorite chair by the window, or having a cup of tea on the porch. The importance of personalizing your space. Another important aspect of turning my tiny house into a sanctuary was personalizing the space. A home is more than just four walls. It's a reflection of who you are, what you love, and what makes you feel safe. I wanted my tiny house to feel like a warm embrace every time I walk through the door. Personalizing your space doesn't mean filling it with items that are expensive or extravagant. It's about finding things that resonate with you, that make you feel relaxed and happy. I started by adding touches that reminded me of the things I love: nature, inspired decor, warm lighting, and cozy fabrics. I brought in plants to liven up the space, each one chosen for its beauty and calming effect. I painted the walls in soft, neutral tones, creating an inviting, serene atmosphere. The furniture I chose was practical, but also comfortable. I invested in a few key pieces: a comfortable chair for reading, a small functional dining table, and a soft bed with fluffy pillows. Every piece of furniture served a purpose, but it also added to the overall feeling of comfort. I learned that having less in the space actually allowed me to focus more on quality, whether it was in the materials used, the comfort it provided, or the emotional connection I had to the items. It's not about filling every corner with stuff. It's about creating a space where you feel at home, at peace, and connected to the things that matter to you. Wow. The power of light and space. In a tiny house, light is your friend. Maximizing natural light is one of the easiest and most effective ways to create a feeling of space and openness. When I moved into my tiny house, one of the first things I did was to make sure that the space had as much natural light as possible. I added light curtains, moved furniture to open up the windows, and made sure that light could flow freely through the rooms. The light in my home became an essential element in creating a peaceful atmosphere. It not only brightened up the space, but also had a profound effect on my mood. The sunlight streaming in through the windows during the morning brought energy and warmth, while the softer, dim lighting in the evening created a cozy, relaxing atmosphere. I also learned that keeping the space open and uncluttered made it feel larger than it was. I strategically placed mirrors in different parts of the house to reflect light and create the illusion of more space. Keeping the rooms open and airy made the tiny house feel more inviting, giving me a sense of freedom despite its small size. Transforming my tiny house into a cozy sanctuary was not about making it look perfect. It was about creating a space that made me feel comfortable, at peace, and connected to what matters most. It was a process of simplifying, personalizing, and embracing the beauty of a small, intentional space. The tiny house that once seemed small and limiting became a reflection of who I am and what I truly need. As you look at your own home, whether it's small or large, I encourage you to think about how you can create a space that reflects your personality, your values, and your passions. You don't need a huge house to feel comfortable and fulfilled. It's about the little things, the way the light flows through your space, the items you choose to surround yourself with, and the way you make the space your own. No matter where you are in life, it's never too late to create a home that feels like a sanctuary. Your home can be a place of peace, comfort, and joy, and it's up to you to make it that way. I hope this video has inspired you to look at your living space in a new light and begin your own journey toward creating a home that nourishes your soul. When I started my journey of transforming my tiny house into a cozy sanctuary, I made several key changes and applied simple yet effective tips. These changes didn't just create a comfortable living space, they also helped me feel more at peace and happier with my life. Let's explore the tips and tricks you can apply to turn your home into a space that truly reflects who you are, with warmth, comfort, and tranquility. 1. Create open spaces and use natural light. One of the most important changes I made was optimizing my living space and taking full advantage of natural light. Light is an element that creates warmth and expands a space in a small home. I started by clearing areas around the windows, removing items that blocked the light. This allowed natural light to flood in, making the space feel brighter and more spacious. I also chose light colors for the walls to reflect the light better. White, soft, gray, and pastel shades not only bring a fresh vibe, but also make the space feel larger. One trick I used was placing mirrors strategically around the room to reflect light and create the illusion of more space. This worked especially well in small homes. Light doesn't just come from the sun, it also comes from your lighting system. I chose soft, warm lighting for the evening, which created a cozy and relaxing atmosphere. The light fixtures I selected were energy-efficient LED lights, and I used string lights to add a decorative touch on shelves or near artwork, adding more coziness to the space. 2. Simplify your furniture and keep only the important items. One of the first steps I took in transforming my tiny home was getting rid of unnecessary items. You'll be surprised by the freedom and comfort that comes with decluttering your space. In a small home, there's no room for clutter, and I quickly realized that keeping only the items that brought me joy and value was essential. For each item, I asked myself, do I really need this? Does it bring me happiness or peace? If the answer was no, I let it go. This helped me maintain a space that was open, tidy, and inspiring. A key tip is to look for multifunctional furniture. For example, instead of having separate tables for different purposes, I chose a small table that could be used for eating, working, or even as a display surface. These kinds of items not only save space, but also make the home more versatile. Another important thing is not to let everything lie around without purpose. I began using storage solutions such as bins, open shelves, and drawers to keep things organized. This gave me more freedom and comfort, and I no longer felt burdened by unnecessary items. 3. Create cozy and relaxing nooks. When living in a small space, it's important to create cozy nooks where you can unwind and relax. One of the major changes I made was setting up separate areas within the home, each with a unique purpose, but still contributing to an overall sense of harmony. I created a small area for reading and relaxing. A comfy armchair, a reading lamp, and my favorite books made the perfect spot for me to unwind in the afternoons. This corner became a place where I could sit, enjoy a warm cup of tea, and lose myself in a good book. I also set up a small area for meditation and mindfulness practice. Giving myself a dedicated space for daily meditation helped me clear my mind, reduce stress, and recharge. I arranged cushions, a small table with plants, and soothing lighting to create a peaceful space. 4. Combine colors and textures to create warmth. Choosing colors and textures that work well together can make a small space feel much cozier and more inviting. I opted for warm tones like beige brown and light gray to bring a calming and comfortable feel. These colors made the small space feel more inviting and cozy. In addition to colors, the texture of the furniture and decor played an important role in creating warmth. I chose soft fabrics like velvet for cushions, natural wood for furniture, and rattan for storage baskets to highlight the warmth of the space. Soft rugs, cozy, throw blankets, and comfy pillows help make the space feel welcoming and relaxing. Another simple tip is to combine contrasting colors such as light and dark hues, or to add details like warm yellow lighting, which will help the space feel cozy and not cramped. 5. Bring nature and greenery into your home. An essential part of turning my tiny house into a sanctuary was bringing nature into the space. Plants not only help purify the air, but also bring a fresh vibe and harmony to the environment. I started by placing small plants on windowsills, using plants that could thrive indoors. I chose greenery and small flowering plants that added life to the space. Plants helped my home feel closer to nature, and they created a relaxing atmosphere. In addition to plants, I also decorated with nature-inspired artwork. I hung paintings of forests, mountains, or oceans, which gave me a sense of peace and connection to the outside world. By incorporating nature into the space, I felt more grounded and energized. 6. Focus on storage solutions for a clutter-free environment. Living in a small space means that storage is key. Without effective storage solutions, things can quickly pile up and create unnecessary clutter. One of the first things I did was invest in smart storage options. I use floating shelves, underbed storage boxes, and multi-purpose furniture, like ottomans with hidden storage. This helped me store my belongings in a way that was both practical and aesthetically pleasing. I also minimize clutter by choosing furniture that doubles as storage. For example, a sofa with storage space underneath allowed me to keep extra blankets and pillows tucked away while still having easy access to them. By organizing and utilizing space effectively, my home felt much larger and more comfortable. 7. Personalize your space with meaningful decor. A key aspect of turning my tiny home into a sanctuary was personalizing the space. A home should be a reflection of who you are, what you love, and what makes you feel safe and comfortable. I focused on adding personal touches that brought me joy, whether it was through photographs, meaningful artwork, or sentimental objects. For instance, I hung up family photos and artwork that I loved, each piece chosen for its emotional significance. I also kept a few cherished keepsakes that reminded me of past adventures and moments with loved ones. These personal items made my home feel uniquely mine and created an emotional connection to the space. Chapter 8. Create a peaceful bedroom for restful sleep. A restful bedroom is crucial for recharging and feeling at peace. In a tiny home, it's important to prioritize comfort and create a space that promotes good sleep. I invested in a high-quality mattress and comfortable bedding, choosing soft cotton sheets and warm blankets. I also made sure the bedroom was a place of peace by reducing distractions. I kept the room free from clutter and used soothing colors, soft blues, and muted neutrals to create a calm atmosphere. To enhance the space further, I added soft lighting to make the room feel cozy and relaxing, perfect for winding down at the end of the day. Transforming my tiny home into a cozy sanctuary wasn't about having a perfect large space. It was about creating a space that made me feel comfortable, at peace, and truly at home. By simplifying, personalizing, and embracing the beauty of a small space, I was able to create an environment that reflects my personality, values, and needs. You don't need a huge home to create a sanctuary. It's about focusing on what matters, surrounding yourself with what brings you joy, and creating a peaceful and comfortable environment. Whether you're living in a tiny apartment, a small house, or just looking for ways to make your space more inviting, the tips I shared in this video can help you transform your home into a space that nurtures your soul. As you move forward with your own journey of transformation, remember that the space you create should reflect who you are and what makes you feel truly happy. With small, thoughtful changes, you can turn any space into a sanctuary, a place where you can rest, recharge, and live your best life. Stay tuned for the next part of this video, where I will share even more tips and tricks on how to make the most of your small space and create a home that truly feels like your sanctuary. As we dive deeper into transforming your small space into a cozy sanctuary, let's take a look at practical ways you can apply the tips I've shared so far. Whether you're in a tiny house, a small apartment, or even a studio, these concepts can make a huge difference in how you feel about the space you live in. In this section, I'll walk you through some concrete examples and actions you can take to create your own sanctuary step by step. Start with decluttering, letting go of what doesn't serve you. Before diving into the fun part of decorating and personalizing, it's important to clear out the clutter. I cannot emphasize enough how transformative it is to simply let go of things that no longer serve you. I began by looking around my space and asking myself, do I really need this? Does this item bring me joy, comfort, or functionality? If the answer was no, out it went. For example, I had a collection of old books, not ones I actually read, but simply ones I had acquired over the years. They were taking up space on my shelves and contributing to the sense of clutter. Once I made the decision to donate most of them, my shelves felt lighter and the room immediately looked more organized. The space was no longer filled with things I didn't need, and that gave me the freedom to focus on what truly mattered. Similarly, I looked at other areas of my home, my kitchen closet and living room. I started by clearing off the countertops, getting rid of unused appliances, and eliminating outdated decorations. I realized that a clutter-free space made a world of difference. There was something incredibly freeing about getting rid of the items that were just filling up space without purpose. The transformation didn't happen overnight, but over time, my home began to feel more open, inviting, and relaxed. Optimize your space with multifunctional furniture. When you're working with limited space, multifunctional furniture is a game changer. The best part is that you don't have to sacrifice style for practicality. For example, I swapped out my old bulky furniture for pieces that could serve multiple purposes. One of the first things I did was choose a sofa bed. This piece of furniture not only serves as a comfortable seating area, but also doubles as a guest bed for visitors. It was perfect for my small living room because it saved space and offered flexibility when I had family or friends staying over. In the bedroom, I invested in a storage ottoman that serves as both a place to sit and a place to store extra bedding throws and pillows. It also functions as a footrest when I'm relaxing in my armchair. Another brilliant space saver was floating shelves that I installed on the walls. They allowed me to keep my essential items like plants, books, and decor without taking up valuable floor space. These small but functional pieces of furniture helped make my home feel bigger and more organized while still being cozy. Multifunctional furniture can also include folding dining tables, extendable desks, or wall-mounted organizers. Think about ways to use your space more effectively and invest in furniture that adapts to your needs. For instance, I also replaced my coffee table with a nested table set. This small table set gave me the flexibility to use one piece as a coffee table and move the other around as needed. It's a great option for someone with a small living room who needs furniture that is both functional and versatile. Use colors and lighting to create warmth. Creating a cozy atmosphere in a small home is largely about choosing the right colors and lighting. When I first moved into my tiny house, I was concerned that the space might feel too small and dark. But I quickly learned that with the right colors and lighting, a small room can feel much more spacious and inviting. The walls in my home were initially a dull beige, but I decided to paint them a soft, warm white. This instantly brightened up the space and gave it a clean, fresh feel. I added a subtle accent wall in a muted pastel shade to add depth and interest without overwhelming the space. Light colors, especially whites, pale blues, and grays, can make a room feel larger and airier, perfect for small spaces. I also replaced harsh overhead lighting with soft ambient lighting. I added floor lamps with adjustable heads to create a cozy atmosphere in the evenings. For the kitchen, I installed under-cabinet lights that not only illuminated the space, but also created a warm, welcoming vibe. Lighting is essential in small spaces, and using a mix of ambient task and accent lighting can make all the difference. Another small change I made was to add fairy lights or string lights in a few places around the home, on shelves, around windows, or even above my bed. These lights created a soft glow, adding to the feeling of warmth and comfort, especially in the evening when natural light was no longer available. Lighting like this can create a sense of intimacy and tranquility in your home, making it feel like a true sanctuary. Add personal touches to make it truly yours. One of the best ways to transform a small house into a sanctuary is to personalize it. A space becomes much more meaningful and comfortable when it reflects your personality and experiences. For me, this meant filling my home with items that reminded me of important memories and the things that bring me joy. I added family photos in beautiful frames, hung artwork that spoke to me emotionally, and placed souvenirs from my travels on shelves and tables. These personal touches created an environment that felt like my own, not just a generic living space. Every item had significance, whether it was a small trinket from a trip abroad or a painting my niece had gifted me years ago. In the living room, I added a gallery wall of framed photos and artwork. I chose pieces that reflected my love for nature and travel beach scenes, mountains, and sunsets. These reminded me of happy times spent outdoors and brought a sense of peace to my home. Similarly, I found decorative items that resonated with my love for minimalism and calm, like simple vases, candles, and handmade pottery. Another way I personalized my home was through textures and fabrics. I chose soft, cozy materials like cotton throws, plush pillows, and warm wool blankets. These added a sense of comfort and made my small space feel more inviting. I also added small touches such as decorative baskets and handmade rugs, which not only served as practical storage solutions, but also added a touch of charm to the space. Personalization is key in making any space feel like home. It's not about filling the space with random items, but about curating your belongings to reflect your story and what brings you comfort. Your space should feel like a place you can relax and recharge, and personal touches are essential for creating that atmosphere. Incorporate nature with indoor plants and greenery. One of the most impactful changes I made to my tiny home was incorporating nature into my living space. Plants not only improve the air quality, but also add life and vibrancy to any room. I placed several plants in strategic areas around the house, on windowsills, shelves, and hanging from the ceiling. I began with low-maintenance plants like succulents, snake plants, and peace lilies. These plants thrive indoors and require minimal attention, which was perfect for my lifestyle. I also placed a few larger plants like a fiddle-leaf fig tree in corners of the room to add height and balance. These plants didn't just look beautiful, they created a sense of calm and groundedness, bringing a touch of the outdoors inside. Another way to incorporate nature into my home was through natural materials. I chose furniture made from wood, bamboo, and woven rattan to enhance the earthy feel of the space. These materials connected me to nature and contributed to the warmth and comfort of my home. Adding plants and natural materials is a simple but effective way to create a sanctuary-like atmosphere. Greenery makes a space feel more alive and rejuvenates the air around you, while natural textures provide a sense of harmony and relaxation. Turning my tiny house into a cozy sanctuary wasn't about having a perfect large space. It was about creating a space that made me feel at peace, comfortable, and truly at home. By focusing on decluttering, maximizing space with multifunctional furniture, using natural light, and adding personal touches, I created a home that nurtured my soul. You don't need a mansion to feel comfortable and at ease in your own space. Whether you live in a tiny house, a small apartment, or a studio, the tips and tricks I've shared can help you transform your space into a place of peace and comfort. Remember, it's not about how much space you have, it's about how you use the space you do have to create an environment that brings you joy, calm, and connection. So take a step back, evaluate your space, and start applying these tips. Over time, you'll find that your home becomes not just a place to live, but a sanctuary that reflects your values, brings you joy, and provides a sense of peace. Don't be afraid to embrace simplicity. Focus on what truly matters and personalize your space. You deserve a home that makes you feel grounded and at ease. And with just a few thoughtful changes, you can make that happen. As you reflect on the journey of transforming your tiny house into a sanctuary, you will realize that it is the small and simple changes that can make the biggest difference. In this video, I've shared how I began the process of simplifying, personalizing my space, and utilizing natural light colors and multifunctional furniture to create a space that not only feels comfortable, but also helps me feel peaceful and happy. But this process isn't just about improving your living space. It's about a mindset shift and a reawakening of the values that I wanted to focus on in my life. When I began clearing the clutter around me, I wasn't just making my house neat and tidy, but I was also letting go of things that no longer served my peace and happiness. Simplifying my space became a process of freeing myself from stress, clutter, and unnecessary things. As I mentioned, personalizing the space was also a vital element. A home is not just a place to live, but it should reflect who you are, your personality, and your emotions. I filled my home with items that reminded me of important memories and things that bring me joy. Whether it was the painting I made, the favorite chair I own, or souvenirs from my family, each of these things helped make my house a place that truly felt like my own. I learned that satisfaction doesn't come from having more, but from creating an environment that holds meaning and comfort. Likewise, optimizing space and using natural light were some of the most impactful and effective tips for making a small home feel cozier and more inviting. Thanks to these changes, I not only felt like the space was more spacious, but I also felt more energized and happy when I was inside it. The light didn't just help me relax, but it created a warm, comforting atmosphere that I had never experienced before. By applying such tips, not only did my living space change, but my perspective on life also shifted. Life doesn't always have to be about rushing or striving for perfection. Sometimes happiness comes from the simplest things, from those quiet moments spent in your home, from sitting down and enjoying the small moments. When I took the time to reflect on my life, I realized that I didn't need to chase external goals to feel fulfilled. True happiness comes from being grateful for what I have right now and savoring each moment. With the small yet meaningful changes I've made, I feel like I've rediscovered peace and joy in these golden years of my life. The most important thing is that I no longer feel pressured or stressed by the need to own more things to prove myself. Instead, I've learned to live simply and embrace the beauty of having less. So, my final advice to all of you who are entering this stage of life: don't ever feel like it's too late or that you can't change. Age is not a limitation. It's an opportunity to seek out new things, to change yourself, and to change your surroundings. You can start over, rediscover passions you've had for years, or even explore new ones that you didn't have the time to pursue before. Most importantly, don't let anything stop you from living a fulfilling and meaningful life. Remember, your home doesn't need to be large to create a space you love. It needs to be a place that makes you feel peaceful, a place where you can pause and rest after a long day. Whether your home is big or small, it should reflect what matters most to you and help create a sense of calm and purpose. I believe that as long as you truly care for your living space, you will find that it can give you peace and happiness. Don't be afraid to change what can bring comfort to yourself. And don't forget that this journey never ends. We can always find new ways to improve our lives, to live more fully, happily, and peacefully. Thank you for watching this video. I hope the tips and insights I shared today help you feel more connected to your home, find peace, and discover joy no matter your circumstances. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on future content. I wish you all the best as you continue to find joy and peace in your own home.